is Dave Arnold, your host of Cooking Issues, coming to you live from the heart of Manhattan, Rockefeller Center, New York City, Newsstand Studios. Joined as usual with John behind me. How you doing, John?
Doing great, thanks.
Great. Got Joe Hazen rocking the panels. What's up?
Hey, how you doing? We're all in all directions of you today.
Everywhere. In the upper left, Quinn, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. That's better. Normally you're like, meh, still alive. You know what I mean? Good is good. Good is great. Down on the lower left there, we got Nastasia the Hammer Lopez. How you doing?
Good.
Now that sounds more like it. That sounds more like the crew that I know and love. And last, but of course certainly not least, Jackie Molecules. How you doing, Inslee?
I'm good. I'm better. I'm better than last week.
Nice.
That's my. Yeah.
Ooh, someone just broke a bottle in the hallway. Oh, and a little kid is doing what little kids do best, staring at it. He's got what? This is just a little kid in a striped shirt, and he's giving a serious, not me, man, not me. Look, actually, we should go out and blame him. Do you wanna? You wanna go out and blame this kid?
No, I think he's looking at his dad, and his dad's ashamed, and the little kid's heroic worship of his father's falling apart. To be honest.
Yeah, and who you're hearing is the incomparable none other than Joshua Davis Stein, cookbook author, children's book author. In fact, Joe Hazen bought one of your books over the weekend, not even knowing.
I know. I was touched.
Which one was it? What's my lunch? Who's my lunch?
Yeah, no one gets it. It's called Lunch from Home.
Oh, Lunch from Home. Who's my lunch?
Yeah, what's in my lunch?
Can you write a book called What's in My Lunch?
Yeah, the answer will just be lunch.
No, but you don't want to what's more like, okay, so it's obviously you shouldn't shame kids over their lunch.
Correct.
So you can't really talk about what's in my lunch unless it's only positive.
Well, that was actually a challenge with the book Lunch from Home, because the whole idea is kids are bringing their lunches. I worked with 4 chefs and restaurateurs, Nikki from Russ and Daughters, Preeti, Ray Garcia, and Mina Park from Burberry in Los Angeles. And they had kimbap, and they had hot dog and cheese burritos, and they had lox and, bagel and lox. And the idea was that the other kids were kind of shaming them. It's called a lunchbox moment. But then at the end of it, it turns out that the kids with the sandwiches, you also shouldn't villainize them for having just a normie lunch.
No, you villainize them for villainizing you.
Right. But you can't, but there was a very small, kind of like a needle to thread to say, yes, you making fun of their lunches is not right, but also there's nothing wrong with the sandwich.
No, sandwiches are good.
Yeah.
So the book didn't want to come down bologna sandwiches are for morons, because you can't even have a PB&J anymore, right?
Actually, the thing that I realized doing that book, especially in New York City public schools, is a lot of the kids are on free lunch programs, school lunch programs, and those are all sandwiches.
Really?
Yeah. They're sandwiches or, sort of run-of-the-mill normie food. So if you write a book sort of alienating those kids, you're alienating a lot of you're alienating the audience that I wanted to communicate to.
All right, but since you have to make fun of somebody for a book to make sense.
It's true. Or for a life to make sense.
Who are you making? You're making fun of the kids, not their lunch. I'm just messing with you. You don't have to make fun of anyone. I'm just messing with you. Yeah.
I'll just make fun of that kid with the broken bottle out. Amazing dad. Oh, what if they listen? We're not streaming. They can't hear us, right?
Only if they're on Patreon.
No.
And then if that was the case, they'd be fishbowling us.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So Nastasia, I think, has to bug out early. Oh, so what was it you wanted to talk about before you had to bug out, Stas?
Well, Jack and I, first of all, last night I was at a Christmas party, and a friend came with me, and he didn't read what was on the menu, and he had the mashed potatoes, which had lobster in them, and he went into anaphylactic shock, and I drove him to the ER, and then, yeah.
And it's okay for you to tell this story?
Yeah,
You did,
totally
so you did. So wait, so you and Jack drove him to the ER, or he drove to the ER?
No, I had nothing to do with it.
No. I drove to the ER. Jack was not with me on this part. This was outside of what Jack and I did on.
All right, now
was it at a restaurant?
It was at the Chateau Marmont, it was at the holiday party there, and so I don't know why he just didn't read what the buffet was
Well, who reads what's on a buffet?
Well, if you are going to go into anaphylactic shock if you eat something,
maybe
Live a little, not a lot. Live a little.
live a little, not a lot,
Live a little
not
longer.
long, and not long. So, couple of questions here. You said he, right? It's a dude.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did he have an EpiPen or no?
No.
Ouch!
No.
Did anyone have Benadryl on them?
We went to CVS first. We
What?
left the lobster.
Go immediately next time to the ER. Go immediately to the ER.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
And he was like all puffy and his throat was closing, and we're at CVS and he's like, "Did you validate the ticket for the garage?" I'm like, yeah. And so then we drove to the ER. I went through red lights. It was pretty cool.
Oh.
And then
Yeah. Man.
Yeah.
Well, it would have been cooler in San Francisco, right? With the bouncing of the car, like bullet style, like boom, boom. That would have been cooler. But I'm sure going through a bunch of red lights in LA is also fun. How much honking?
a lot to go through.
Did you roll
know?
the window down
Yeah.
and scream at people for honking at you? Because I can picture this kind of.
No, I was silent because I was scared he was gonna like pass out and like in the.
He didn't read the menu. He should have read the menu.
It's not my fault. You run into so okay. Did you know it had lobster and you were effing with them? I have to ask.
No, I would
Okay.
not f with that.
I mean,
no.
I know
No.
you a
You were
long
mad at
time.
him, though.
I know you a
I
long
You were mad
time.
at him for something else.
Yeah, it's kind of suspect, but okay. It's kind of like one of those things where like you push him in front of the bus, but you grab him back so you saved him. One of those kind of
Yeah, were
situations.
you mad at him for not for being so careless with his own health and your holiday party?
Yes, I was really mad. Yes.
Was there someone that you really
What's
wanted
his
to talk
name?
to at the holiday party that you couldn't talk to because you had to go to the damned ER with this fool? And what's his name?
Yes, but I did end up going back to the holiday party for the very end.
And were you like, what an a-hole? Or were the people like, oh my God, what happened?
No one noticed. So I was a big.
Hey, did you know that Billy almost died? Who's Billy?
Yeah.
Pass me some of that lobster. Pass me some of that lobster mac and cheese or whatever it was. You know what I mean? All right. So now, did the guy go full Donald Duck voice? Because like when I'm about to die from, I go full Donald Duck. Yeah. The nice thing about having a reaction that's closing your airways is that you go straight to the doctor. There's no waiting around in the room. You walk up, you make that noise to the triage nurse, and then boom, you're in. You know what I mean?
How long do you have?
I don't know. I'm not dead. I don't know how long I would have had.
So like is it like a 30-second thing from breathing normally to like asphyxiating, or is
It's
it
a
like
lot faster than you think. That's the danger about like any sort of like airway obstruction is it can go from, wow, I feel a little uncomfortable to toast really quickly.
Oh my God.
That's what's so scary about it. You know what I mean? But there's a difference between your throat closing where you literally can't breathe, but your lungs haven't, like your airways, your bronchial airways haven't, and asthma, which feels kind of different. Because asthma, it's weird because you don't sound effed up. Your throat's not closed,
Right.
but you literally can't draw breath into your body. Also frightening.
all of that?
You know what I mean? Like all real bad.
Yeah.
But anyone that's ever had that happen to them, you carry Benadryl and at least Benadryl. Because like carrying an EpiPen, I get it, pain in the butt. But Benadryl, I don't know if they make them anymore. You used to be able to buy Listerine strips of Benadryl. And it's like super fast. You just put it on your tongue and you get super tired really quickly. But like, you could loosen up enough to make it to the hospital. You know what I mean? I'm assuming you're not going to be friends with this guy anymore. But, some recommendations are in order. You know what I mean?
No, we are. Anyway, so then Jack and I last
Was it Pat?
Wednesday,
Was it Phil?
Thursday. No, it wasn't.
No. You would have known
No,
if it was that.
Yeah.
Yes. Jack and I went to the opening of Mike Capoferri's new bar in, I guess, Studio City or whatever it is.
I mean,
City.
your guess is better than mine. You're there.
Anyway,
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
Yeah. So Mike
Yeah.
Really
Capoferri is a friend of the show, was on the show once, started Thunderbolt LA, which is a good bar. If you ever go to LA, great bar. Like very high end, but very inexpensive. So like a lot of technique driven at like keeping the price low and the quality high, and puts his money where his mouth is in terms of technique, not in terms of money, but also probably money.
Nastasia lives in LA now.
Yeah.
Nastasia,
Yeah,
didn't
we
you
both do.
used to have like an amazing house that was
Yes,
made out of
they
stone?
sold it. Yeah,
was
they
made of
sold
stone.
it.
Wasn't it made of stone?
I just remember that, like, I have a thin file of like Nastasia facts, and it's like you live in a cool house made out of stone near a body of water.
On the water.
Yeah. Well, you can defile that. You can put that into the mental trash bin.
Along with everything else.
Along with everything.
Along with everything else I thought was true.
Yeah. So, by the way, also, like, I mean, obviously it's more important for the person who almost died, but this is really kind of scary for restaurant people too. You know what I mean? Like putting someone into, like, everyone lives in fear that they're going to poison somebody, or they're going to, and, you know, you probably will at some point, you know, send someone into anaphylactic shock. So, you know, it's not just you that you're hurting. I mean, think of the agita you're giving.
Well, that's why they ask. They're like, any allergies or aversions?
Right, but not at a buffet, though, right?
Yeah.
Well. No, but they had the menus printed out, like, right there. It was lobster and the mashed potatoes, which I guess he didn't expect, you know?
But the menu said lobster and mashed potatoes?
Yes. He didn't
How many
read
bites
it.
did he take?
He, like, housed a bunch of it.
Well, it tastes like seafood, too.
No, it was you couldn't. He was like, what is this? When I sat down, he's like, what's in here? I could not figure out what it was.
That's the restaurant's fault. They're not making it wrong if you can't taste the lobster.
I mean, at least put like a little lobster critter next to the mashed potatoes.
It's that dude's fault. It said lobster on the menu.
Right.
He's responsible for his own healthcare decisions. He doesn't have an EpiPen. He doesn't have Benadryl. He made you miss half the party, not that anyone noticed. But it seems like it's solidly on him.
Yeah. Okay, here's another thing. I'm gonna put this out there. Quinn, this is a good lesson, because Quinn, right? Quinn Fusile, Fucile, Quinn, but my phone calls him Fusile, which he hates, so I'll stop. Anyway.
Yeah.
Message from Quinn Fusile is what Siri says. Anyway, so Quinn's like, but they could read the manual if they want to know how not to break the spinzall. And I'm like, they're not going to read the manual. This guy didn't even read the manual on his life, Quinn. He didn't read the manual on his freaking life.
Yeah.
And you think they're going to read a manual on a freaking centrifuge? No.
Yeah.
Not going to happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, assume there's no reading. So, like, we have an issue with the not an issue, but, you know, it's a known thing with the unit that if they pump too much fluid into it, we increase the pump speed so that they do more. But it also means that they can overdrive it and kind of bork the machine a little bit. Bork from Justice Bork, not just Judge
Bobby,
Bork, who never got
Bobby Burke.
Anyway, so like we got to there, and if you pump it too hard, it ruins it. So we had to put a thing in the manual that says don't pump it too much and overflow it. And I'm like, that's not enough. We need to put a sticker, like a big orange sticker, that they have to cut through the sticker, because hopefully, if they have to cut through a sticker that says "idiot, you're going to ruin this," and if it's orange, then maybe they won't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but don't you kind of feel like it's the baby on board problem that people with baby on board bumper stickers tend to drive more dangerously because they expect other people will defer to them because they have a baby on board?
Because like whenever I see a baby on board sticker, I get more aggressive because I'm like, baby's life no more important than anyone else's.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Equal value here. You know what I mean? Yeah. That baby could grow up to be a murderer. At least with an adult, I know whether they've turned out crappy. You'd rather take a bird in the hand than one in the bush. A kid is a bird in the bush. You know what I mean?
That's great.
No, wow. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I probably shouldn't say that to a kid's book author.
Those are my future customers. Those are my customers you're talking about.
Yeah, you know, but they're always making new ones.
They could always become murderers. That's true. Yeah,
you never know. You never know. I mean, I guess an adult could all of a sudden become a murderer, but it's less likely.
Luigi?
Wait, what's Luigi?
Hey.
What's Luigi?
Luigi the Mario brother?
Yo.
No. That guy.
Oh, the hottest murderer in New York City.
You mean like he's a good-looking man?
Have you not seen pictures of that man?
What the hell is wrong with you, Dave?
Oh,
listen,
my God.
Okay, this is not a political show, but we've gone into a news K-hole since the election. I don't watch anything. I don't see anything. I mean, you know.
But aren't you interested in abs?
Abs of steel?
Yeah.
No, does he have rock hard abs?
Oh, my God, so hard.
Well, that must be because nothing to do but plotting, murdering people. And I thought the guy had a back problem, though. How does he have rock hard abs with a back problem? Is he using some sort of machine that I should know about?
Oh, my God. Okay, I have to go. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, Josh.
Bye.
Yeah, nice.
There we go.
Yeah, that's a weird case. I don't know. Anyway. I'm not gonna talk about that case because like I'm gonna say something that's gonna get me in trouble. If
Yeah, I
do.
know, but I kind of want to push you to say something. That
Yeah. I get in enough trouble on my own. All right. So this is the portion of the show, actually long past portion of the show, but the portion of the show where we discuss things that have happened in food in the past week or so. So anyone, Stas already left, but anyone got anything good in the food land?
I'll just quickly tack on what Stas said about Mike's new bar because it really is awesome. It's called Night on Earth, and he did this drink. It's like by Studio City, so all the movie industry stuff. And he's got a drink called the Blockbuster where he actually has Flavacol in it, and like so it tastes like movie theater popcorn flavor, but it's an old fashioned with overproof corn whiskey. It's very, very good.
I love. I have a carton of that stuff. The color is on point. Is this like? Does it have that color?
Sort of. Well, the bar is really like neon black lighty, so I couldn't really tell what the drink like color looked like, to be honest.
Any quinine based drinks to pop with the black light?
Good question. I don't know. I mean, I didn't have all the drinks.
Well, were any drinks glowing?
Not that I could tell.
Then no.
No, none that I ordered, at least.
Then no. Now, question on Flavacol. Since everyone should have it, so for those who don't know, it comes in a milk carton. It comes in like a 1 quart milk carton, and it's salt and yellow and butter flavor.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's the powder. It's the stuff.
Yeah.
And it looks like it was made in the 60s. They haven't changed the box since at least the 70s.
But you can't cook with it.
Oh, you could, I guess. You could use it in place of salt, but typically it withstands heat, so you can stick it into like the whirly pop while you're making the popcorn. But the key is you have to also buy the butter-flavored coconut oil if you really want to rock it, movie theater style. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because real butter probably will burn or something unless you clarify it. And then where are you? What are you doing?
What are you even doing?
What are you even doing? When the movie theater, if what you're aiming at is movie theater popcorn, do it the way they do with yellow butter flavored coconut oil and Flavacol.
They sell it as a package online, too.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Although it's like what movie was that where they talk about the the hot dogs and the buns not having the same amount? Is that Fight Club? I think it's Fight Club.
Not having the same amount of.
Well, that you have to keep buying them because there'll be like a different number of buns and hot dogs. I believe that's Fight Club, and it's the same thing with the Flavacol and the coconut oil.
That's how they get you.
That's how they get you. You're like, well, I got more Flavacol. I need to get more of the coconut.
It's like cereal and milk.
Yeah, they
That's
don't
how
come
you
in.
finish an entire box of cereal and like a gallon of milk.
Yeah. Because you have one, so you get the other. Have one, get the other. You know what I mean? It's the same reason that you sell. For some reason, you're like, I'm not going to buy Doritos. So, like, for those of you that aren't, my age in the 50s, like when I was growing up, there was like a flavor of Doritos. There was Doritos, right? And I don't know who in the Frito-Lay Corporation, but I believe it was them, figured out that that they could get everyone to eat more Doritos if they just made a bunch of flavors, even if no one ever ate those flavors. Because you're like, oh, there's 4 kind of Doritos. What kind of Dorito am I going to get? Not like, oh, there's Doritos. Am I going to get Doritos or not? Because obviously now that there are 4 kinds, you're going to get Doritos. It's just a question of which flavor.
It sounds like dating.
Is that how dating works? I don't know. I haven't like.
That's how dating works.
Wow.
That's how online dating works.
Jeez, I'm glad I'm not a part of that. Yeah.
Subscribe to the JDS newsletter, substack.com. And
Yeah. So because you write, what is it, 80 books a year?
I write 80 to 90 books.
Yeah, you make Robert Simonson look like he doesn't ever pick up a word processor, right? Like he's
all that man does is drink.
And write books about drinking.
And write books about it.
Yeah. He comes out with like a book every 30 seconds, but I think you have him beat by like multiples.
Yeah, except Bob's books are his books. My books are co-authoring.
Right.
So I have no expertise, but I just write.
Well, I'm gonna ask that. So we still haven't gotten into what everyone's done for the week, but I'm gonna ask this now because like the 2 books that I was sent to look at that came out, I guess, in October because that was the big right.
Yeah,
so,
one came out in October and one came out earlier this year.
Which one was the Clickinator? When did that come out?
The Clickinator came out recently in October.
Yeah, and what's the name of that book?
Why I Cook.
Yeah,
by Tom Colicchio.
Yeah, so and. Why? Not kidding. I'm just messing with you. Like, in 2 sentences, why?
Yeah. He's got to make a living.
Yeah, got to make a living.
And he's good at it.
Yeah. The short version, if you read it, the short version is ADHD and he, basically, lost his ability to stay in touch with the stuff he was good at. Like he grew up being like young, book smart, and also like a really good swimmer, and the ADHD and the fact that he hung out around with people that took drugs and he ended up enjoying them by self-medicating put him on a different path. But his dad, who otherwise was an inveterate gambler and maybe not always the most loving dad, but did love him, was like, hey, you could be a chef. And then
He's like, oh, okay.
yeah. Was that an accurate portrayal of what happened?
Impressively, yes.
Yeah. Anyway, so that book came out, which is a memoir. So now you have to write as him, which is kind of bizarre. This is kind of the problem of writing books. And I've known a couple of people, over the decades who like this is what their skill is, that they can write a book as somebody else. What kind of a pain in the butt is that?
I think it depends on the project. Like, that was the most difficult project I've worked on in that regard, because Tom is not incredibly forthcoming, maybe is a way to say it. Like, doesn't open up very much.
And plus he's already famous, so people know his voice. So you can't like pretend, you can't make up what his voice is because other people already know it.
Yeah, except the voice, the written voice is different than any other type of voice. I mean, he has other cookbooks, so people know his voice from that, but it's different. And I think that was also a bit of a challenge, because to me, when I'm working on a memoir in particular, it's like, I want to make this a work of art, like literature. I don't want it to just be a record of the facts of someone's life. I want it to have heft and pathos and whatever. And that's different from how you talk, like the kind of books I want to do aren't, I don't want to say frothy, but they have some heft. So that was definitely a trying process.
Now you got to do a book on milkshakes. It's all about froth.
Oh, God.
Do it for kids.
For kids. A memoir of a milkshake?
Who's my milkshake? Yeah.
Black and white. A memoir of a milkshake.
A
memoir of a bipolar milkshake.
Exactly. So
that was the toughest one I've worked on. And, to be completely honest, after I kind of turned in a couple of drafts, he and his wife, Lori, who's also a writer and worked with him on his other books, kind of like gave it the colliquio patina.
Mm-mm. I like that word, the colliquio patina.
Like, I'm happy that book is doing well. I don't think I nailed it. And like, I relied on other people, most notably his wife, to bring it home.
I mean, people also like, I happen to know people in a very, 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 very similar situation.
Yeah.
And like when like the spouse is a writer, you can't walk into a relationship that already exists between like, a partnership of like a chef and a writer, and then be the writer who has to be that chef and not have there be like,
yeah.
You can't. It's not possible.
I think happily for us, there wasn't conflict. Just because I don't have an ego in that way. It's not my book, really. It's not my voice. They have a relationship which I'll never, not only do I not want to supplant it.
That'd be weird.
Yeah. But I just realized, I think we all realized, look, I can provide the armature and the overall shape of the book, but I need help with the paper mache of words. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now, it's not just a memoir. There's a boatload of recipes in it too.
Yeah.
Like every chapter has a boatload of recipes that are sometimes loosely tied to what you're talking about, but other times not necessarily what you're talking about. More like they fit there in the book in terms of what he wants to do.
Yeah.
Right? We say it's accurate.
Yeah.
Okay. And so each recipe also has a bunch of spielage beforehand. Are you also doing that? In other words, how involved do you have to be with the recipes in a situation like this?
Involved. I mean, Tom has a wonderful chief of staff named Maya Land who works with him. She often would sit with him while he came up with the recipes, and she would annotate them in some preliminary form. Then I would take those recipes and make them publishable, baseline for a home chef, because there's a lot of technical sort of specifications that you need.
Because he's a restaurant person.
Yeah, except Tom's recipes are, first of all, Tom hates recipes. So even having him write any recipes was a headache because I'd be like, okay, well, like 4 cloves of garlic. He's like, it depends. Do you like garlic?
You're like, no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or like whatever. He's like, okay, so like one bunch of broccoli. He's like, well, what do you want? How much broccoli do you want?
Apparently his brother wants less broccoli than he does.
That's right.
His brother Mike does not want as much broccoli.
Someone read the book. Amazing.
So
then I'd do that, and then different books have the head notes of different books differ. Like this was trying a lot of Tom's recipes are, and the head notes are autobiographical, especially for this book. But there's not that much to talk about in the recipes in terms of like the history of this recipe, because they're just like seasonal. Tom's the kind of guy where he'd be like, well, why does this go together? And I'm like, because it tastes good. I'm like, okay. It's not like some books that I've worked on. It's like, okay, this recipe for, jambalaya came from here, and this is a history of it, and this is why we use this and that. And that's like definitely not Tom's.
All right, so you're not having to pare down, you're having to beef up.
A lot of
yeah. And do you have to be there for the photo shoot so that you can taste and be like, wait, the description you gave is not really blah, or does that not happen?
I'm there for the photo shoots in most of the books I work on, but not for the tasting. By the time we shoot, the recipes need to be locked and loaded because the photographs have to align precisely with the recipe. So like if you garnish something with dill and dill's not called for in the recipe, well, then you have to either reshoot it or add dill into the recipe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Evan Sung shot that, but Evan is like such a professional that.
How long was the shoot? It's a very well shot, like,
Evan's
good sized book.
Fast. I mean, I don't know, a week, less than a week.
Oh my God, we had Katie Parla on the show maybe, I don't know, a year ago, John?
Yeah, about.
Anyway, like a year ago. And that Food of the Italian Islands, which was, I guess, her first totally self-produced book, which we need to have her back on because I wanted to ask her how it went doing your own book outside of a publishing thing, whether she made more money, same money, like more hassle, less hassle, worth it, not worth it, because it's fascinating to me, the idea that you could just do your own book.
Yeah.
Crazy. But she is a machine. She shot that whole book, she said, in under 2 weeks.
Yep.
All over Italy.
Well, look, when it's your dime, I think you're incentivized to do it quickly.
Yeah, well, I just don't know how you could possibly do it. You know what I mean? Like, because she's inside, she's outside, she's at this person's house, she's at this city, she's she's got like greasy looking man grilling stuff over her thing, which was amazing. I was like, I want that greasy looking man.
She might be effortlessly elegant. There's some people like that, you know?
Yeah,
you don't have to work so hard at it.
I
mean, look at me. I worked so hard to look like this.
For those of you that can't see what he looks like, it's because you're not a Patreon member. And John, you want to tell them how they could become a Patreon member?
Tell them how I look.
Fantastic. No, patreon.com/cooking issues. You get access to the live stream video so you can actually see how Joshua looks. Discounts like Kitchen Arts and Letters, discounts like Grove and Vine and Glassfin, all these great people that we work with. So check it out, patreon.com/cooking issues.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting, I think, about your, like the oeuvre of books that you've written with other people is it's all over the freaking map. So you got Colicchio, you got Kwame's book, which you did, 5 years ago?
Well, we did two. We did Notes from a Young Black Chef and My America.
Which was the one that you were on right after you finished it on the show when we were back in Roberta's? It was like 5 years ago.
Yeah,
6 years
probably ago. Notes from a Young Black Chef.
Yeah, because then you came in MoFad and did the talk there too.
Yeah.
You did another book you just had came out recently. The other one that I saw the galleys for Jong.
Yeah.
Right. Which is going to be a pain in the butt. Why is the English writing of Korean so not what like an English speaker would?
You mean you would pronounce that Jang?
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, why is it that since in Korea they're not using the same alphabet we're using, why not just when you write it into the alphabet?
How would you write that?
You wouldn't just use an O?
Just what?
An O instead of an A?
Jong.
Isn't that closer?
Maybe. I mean, I didn't come up with the transliteration.
Yeah, no, I've always wondered why.
There's gochujang.
Gochujang, yeah, but
Denjang. I don't know. Like my kids make fun of me because I say Mario, and they're like, "It's Mario."
It's either.
That's
It's
what I'm saying.
either.
I say orange. It says orange. I'm from Philly.
Yeah.
Orange. So it's like,
Are you a water?
what? No. What? Oh, Jesus. Water. Water.
But you're not
Water.
outside. You're not like a Bucks kind of wooder. You're not a
No,
wooder.
I'm not like a Delaware Delco
Yeah.
accent. No, but I just think that there's a pretty broad variance in terms of how things are pronounced. Chong is how you say it. It's not Jong. It's not Jang. It's not a J. It's a little harder. Chong.
I feel like it could be written in our alphabet in a way that's closer to the way I'm supposed to say it. That's all.
I'm sorry.
No one cares what I think about it. I'm just happen to say it. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what I think.
I get it.
You know what I'm saying?
Chong.
Yeah. So anyway, but I think it's also going to be confusing for people who read it, who are like, super not familiar. They're going to read it as Jang, straight up Jang.
But that also doesn't kill anyone. Like, okay, read it however you want.
All right. But anyways,
We say in the book, we say how to pronounce it, by the way.
pronounced like song.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right in the intro.
John.
But so here's a question. You're writing a book about like the three main fermented soybean products of Korea by a Korean chef whose restaurant is in Korea in English for an American audience. How did that happen?
Well, Mingu Kong, who's a chef, it's Kong, has a restaurant in called Mingles in Seoul. He is passionate about Jong. He is friendly with Nadia Cho. I don't know if you know, but she's I would say she's like a fixer. Like when Eric Repair went to Seoul, she was his fixer. When
He wrote the intro to the forward of the book.
yeah, he wrote the forward. When like Tony was in Korea, she was his fixer. So like that's her role. And I think she convinced him to do a book
In English for Americans.
Yeah, here's the thing that I found very interesting about working on that project. Jong is incredibly important in Korea. It suffused everything in the culinary culture. But it doesn't have that much respect. Like there's
you mean?
There's no other Korean book on Jong,
Huh.
So something that happens a lot, I feel like, in Korean culture is something needs to be valorized. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but it needs to be valorized by a Western audience, and then it will be reconsumed at a higher level of cachet.
I mean, if outsiders are like, hey, what about this?
Yeah, then Koreans are like, oh yeah, what about this?
No.
Sometimes. And I also think that Mingu really wanted, and also to be honest, the cookbook industry in Korea and the publishing industry is very nascent. It's not flourishing. So if he wanted to do a book, doing it here makes the most sense. Mingu's English is not great. So I kind of think of that book as like, it's my words and it's his expertise, his passion, his recipes. He, as opposed to Tom, is like down to the gram every single time. He's just like he has a Michelin-starred restaurant. He's like a very precise chef.
Is it your fault that zucchini is in both books?
I don't get to pick, but I would not have picked zucchini in either book because it's a crummy.
It's the worst vegetable.
Crummy vegetable.
Tom apparently freaking loves it. It's like aside. He's like, well, I could throw zucchini in that. I'm like, no, you can't.
Well, he has a garden, so at some point he just has so much zucchini.
Yeah. Just have someone bake bread with it. The only thing it's decent for. Yeah. Although, like the one in the Jung book is like super pretty though.
Yeah.
Although in the way that I briefly read like the actual mechanism of the recipe, and in the recipe it seems to be rolled, whereas it's more of like a C shape. It looks like a 1970s like green and white rainbow, which is appealing.
Yeah.
But still zucchini.
Yeah, it's still zucchini, although kanjang, which is what you made. So the three jongs are gochujang, which has a pepper paste, which is probably the most well-known here. Kanjang, which is it's not an equivalent, but we might think of it like soy sauce. And tenjang, which is sort of like miso.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, there are recommendations for decent Korean versions of these that are available in America.
Yeah. I mean, it's really hard in America to get the like artisanal like the real good artisanal Chong because it's not exported. But there's things that are very almost comparable. I mean, what attracted me to that book mostly is Chong has the ability to express terroir, which is cool.
Yeah, so he goes through this. So in the book, one of the fun things is he basically says that he didn't even, as you said earlier, like didn't even really appreciate it until he'd already been open for a couple of years and kind of had his eyes open to like how different and amazing this product was. And then a little after that met
John Kwan.
Yeah, and then did this huge tasting, and then later talks about this huge tasting where all of a sudden he tasted his childhood and then it happened to be that this particular one was made right near where his grandfather was. Yeah.
So like the idea that that chefs and eaters and whatever have been sitting on this ingredient which is capable of so much expression, that touches me on an emotional level.
So do you have to become an expert? Were you already an expert?
I knew nothing. I took Korean for 2 years to learn.
For this project?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because I am like a white American dude who doesn't know anything about that culture. I needed to show I wanted to show respect and I needed to show respect.
That's for a book. That's a long game.
I felt very privileged to work on this book. And I feel like I also felt like it was my duty, my obligation, not in a heavy way, but in a good way it deserves respect. And like that culture, I particularly need to be very careful, I think, for myself to take these subjects seriously, you know?
Well, you have to know enough to put what he's saying in English, because you don't interpose you don't put yourself into the book. You know what I mean? So you have to become an expert enough to be an accurate conduit for what the other author wants to say. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And also just, on a base level, any co-writing is relational. Like I need to build a relationship with Mingu and Nadia and every other team member who was part of that project. And part of doing that is like establishing that I do take it seriously. And I love learning languages. I mean, I speak many languages, and
that's nice. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I very much like that project, that process. And when I went to Korea, I found it very helpful. Not that I could have like very long conversations, but we were in areas and talking to people who it was strange that this like white dude from New York had come to ask them about these very detailed questions about Zhang. So I think it helped that I clearly was invested in in approaching with humility.
Yeah. By the way, for any of you if anyone is listening from Korea, apparently there's a good niche for you to start making the pots, because the youngest master pot maker to make these things is like in their 50s. So, go for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's a lot. I mean, Korea, I think, does a very good job of safeguarding their patrimony, but it is aging. A lot of the Zhang makers are older, although there's new generations coming up, but you're talking about the Chongdok, which are like the large pots in which the Zhang ages. And there's a whole art form behind that too. Every layer, every little bit, there's an art form and there's artisans behind.
And to tie that into what we've been talking about, I don't know why, for the past couple of weeks on Cooking Issues, low-fired pottery. So it's like slightly porous, and for some reason, low-fired pottery is the thing we've been talking about.
I mean, low-fired pottery, Chongdok is low, what did you call it?
Low-fired pottery.
Low-fired pottery, because you need that exchange of air for the fermentation to work.
Can I tell you a quick story about low-fired pottery?
Oh my God, I can't wait.
So I had purchased a 4-quart La Chamba, which is Colombian low-fired pottery that's black, that you could put right on the stove. I was talking to Steve Sando about it because he was on, I don't know, pretty recently. And I was like, oh, so then I bought another one on eBay, and they said it was a 6-quart, but it was it's like 10 quarts. It's huge. So it shows up huge. And I'm in an apartment.
Where do you keep it?
I got in so much trouble. I
you
got
break
so
it?
much- No, I didn't break. But also, each one's a little different. And this one, it's so big that it's kind of tippy because it's only got like a little round thing on the bottom. So I have to make now like a donut to put it in, or I can never use it because if I put it on the table, then it's like when it tips over, then it's basically lava all over everybody. It's lava.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
Could you use it for houseplants?
No, it's tippy. I'd have to make a donut still, but I
have to make
want
a
to
donut.
use it to cook. I mean, like, I like the idea of cooking it. It barely fits in an Innova APO. Like, just like scrapes the top.
Yeah.
Like when all of the racks are out.
eBay.
Send it back to eBay.
Send it back to eBay.
It's a nice pot.
So they'll have a nice pot.
Yeah. Low-fired pottery. Anywho, what else was I talking about on that? I forget. Anyway, one thing I'll have to say about that book. Freaking gorgeous.
Beautiful.
It's crazy pretty.
Yeah, I mean, that book was a challenge to get published. It's not like easy Korean recipes. It's not like grandma's homemade cooking. Like, it's not Korean American recipes. It's like straight up, and it's not just like delicious Korean recipes either. It's like very focused on this one thing, jang, from a chef that has no U.S. presence, doesn't really speak English, and I feel so vindicated by how much it's resonated with Korean and Korean Americans, that they see something from their culture that is getting the respect that it deserves. And I feel like of all the projects I've worked on, I fought really hard to get that one made, And
Who'd you do it with? Was that Hachette? Who did that one?
Artisan.
Artisan?
Yeah. And when we were on book tour, to see people come up and say how much they were moved by that and thank me meant the world to me. That felt very good. A little bit like when we did Kwame's book, to see like kids come up to us, because there's a young adult version too, and other readers, and say what that book meant to them. Or same thing with Lunch from Home, or that's what I love more. Book sales are great, but I've never had them. So it's like, I like it when our audience interacts and you can see that you've made a difference in their life in some way.
Sometimes you write kids' books not about food. Brick,
yeah. Brick, who found herself in architecture.
Get it?
Yeah, I'm...
yeah. Because in architecture...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wrote it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to say that, this is a show about cooking. I like food, but it's just like one part of what I like doing and what I like writing about. And definitely for kids, my kids' book stuff, I'm more interested in the emotional journey of kids and having kids understand that they're loved, basically.
This is why I'm bad at I could never write kids' books. I'd be like, the world is terrible, kid.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. I wouldn't do that to a kid, I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't think I would.
No.
I don't know.
But but it's the same thing with the adult books. With the Jong book, it's about Jong, which is great. And if you want to just read it on that level, read it on that level. To me, it's the idea that the thing that you thought the thing that you didn't think was worth attention is actually capable of telling amazing stories and is worth and worthy of respect. That transcends whatever the thing is and is more of a approach that everything deserves respect.
And for those of you that are worried about, there is, like I say, a buying guide in there for people who live in America.
Yeah.
It's including brand names and et cetera, et cetera.
If you want to read it on that level, go ahead.
Yeah. Can I tell you a Korean soybean paste story?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. John, you're going to like this one.
John, you're going to like this one.
Yeah.
Hey.
So we got DOH came into the place last week, right? And oh my God, get this. So we had a private event on I forget. Well, I'll make it up. Tuesday and Thursday last week, right? They came on Wednesday. What happens? And, we're basically stopped service. We're hosed during that time. And I'm like, what happens if they show up in the middle of a private event? Do you have to give that person like their money back because you've ruined their private event?
I was at Danielle for a game dinner, maybe like 15 years
And by
ago.
the way, you mean game, the animals that are shot, not like the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, animals that are shot. And the DOH showed up for that. And the entire walk-in was pheasants that had just been shot by some like patron, I think, and they brought them in.
Oh, God.
And we didn't know. I mean, no one knew. I only found out after, but then he sent his minions to the walk-in, and they just literally, they put all of the pheasants in the coat check until after the DOH left. So you have to, you just keep on going.
Yeah. Dang.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Danielle.
Yeah. I mean, that's a very Danielle thing to do.
Yeah.
So when I was in Seoul a couple of months ago, my fixer took me to like, some markets, and we went around, and I went to, a very nice paste joint. You know what I mean? And so I was tasting all the different pastes, and, I picked out, I was like, which is give me the funkiest, the most like, so I got it, and I brought it to the bar because, that's what you do. Right, John? You go somewhere, you bring something back so the kitchen can.
Yeah.
But, I don't know the name of it because it was hand packed out of a giant tub into a smaller tub and handed to me. You know what I mean? So I wrote on it, and this again, I think is okay for the show, Fug and Paste.
Yeah.
With a G. That's why you could say it. Fug and Paste. And so the DOH goes into our walk-in, looks, points at the thing that says Fug and Paste, and is like, what's that? And my manager goes like, Dave, I'm going to freaking kill you. Why did you label that thing? It's like, well, what am I supposed to label it? I mean, we know what it is. I mean, technically, it doesn't have to say anything on it that the DOH understands.
Yeah. Why is it their business?
Could have to be labeled, and you're not allowed to have things that, like, what if it was meat based, it couldn't be in a certain place
But it's
on the
not.
shelf. But it's not. It's fucking paste.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Anyway.
So how'd you do?
We did okay. I think, we had an equipment thing, so they're going to come back, but we did fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's all fine. Like, you know what I mean?
What percentage of that oversight is for profit for the city, and what percentage is for actual safety?
I think it's all for safety. I really do. I don't think that I think the average person is into, I think that, look, it's adversarial, obviously, from our point of view, and there's certain things that we are going to do that are not allowed that everybody kind of knows. Like, for instance, like bartenders really, I guess, should wear gloves if they're handling fruit and peeling it and doing all that. Ain't going to happen because that ruins service.
Yeah.
Right. So, that's a dance where we're all breaking the rules, but the rules are generally are there for a reason. And so, like, I don't get bent about the rules with the exception of like some of the stuff with, vacuum bags and sous vide. Some of that stuff's just incorrectly applied science. But what I've always said is that it's not the role of the health department or any government agency to allow me to do everything I want to do, or even allow me to do everything that is safe. It is to make sure that everything I do is safe.
Right.
To our guests, right? And so, like, they need some rubric that allows them to ensure that everything that I'm going to do there is safe for our guests. And so, there are many things that are safe that are not allowed, some of which we do anyway, like peeling fruit for twists, which everybody does. Or like, would you ever go to a sushi joint where the sushi chef was wearing gloves? You wouldn't, right? Because gross, ew. You know what I mean? And we all know that properly washing your hands is better, much, much better than someone who wipes their nose while wearing their glove and then goes back to cutting their fish. You know what I mean? So it's like, certain things are these fictions that we all live with, but I really think that they are doing it for the right reasons in general.
I think if they were trying to make it like a cash grab kind of thing too, there'd be more DOH inspectors. I know from my place, they came 2-3 weeks ago and they were 8 months late to it.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
yeah, they're annoying.
Yeah. Quinn, you haven't said anything you've cooked. We only have 10 minutes left. What the heck, man? Oh, we have a caller? Oh, Quinn's gone?
Quinn left.
Oh, Quinn.
Do we have a caller?
No, I thought it was Quinn.
Oh.
No, but if there's a caller in the last 10 minutes, call in your questions to 917-410-1507. That's 917-410-1507. Quinn left before he could say what he was doing, huh? I didn't know he was going to have to leave early. Because usually he always has some sort of like sorbet-like thing that he's done.
Yeah, he left early. He had to leave. He wasn't feeling great, he said.
Oh, man.
He sent me a message.
Oh, well. All right. Well, if he calls back in the next couple of minutes, he can tell us. Because usually we do all the stuff at the beginning like that.
Yeah, but
then we didn't get to it. Well,
Well, what was that note that he sent out the other day about gelato?
Oh yeah, his new book.
Oh,
He's got it out, self-published. New updated version of his gelato book. It looks great. I started leafing through it.
and how much?
Yeah.
How much is this one? Same low price as before?
Probably. I'm not
what
sure.
was the price?
It was cheap, man.
Yeah.
It was cheap. It was like, I'm gonna want to say, I'm making this up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna want to say $10.
Oh, wow.
It's PDF, right? I think you could order a printed copy, but that would just be a print on demand. But so like I think it was relatively inexpensive.
Yeah.
So Quinn's main Megillah in the first go around, I haven't read this version, but the main thing was that he specs all of his recipes to be soft at like home freezer temperature,
Yeah.
not at dipping cabinet temperature.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is
I mean, gelato books are hard, man.
oh, he's very opinionated about gelato.
I think they're hard to sell. Ice cream recipes are, at least from my standpoint, really hard to write because home chefs, it's hard to scale down for like ice cream for two. It's like, well, no one's going to make that.
Right. But all of his recipes are kind of like that, right? They're designed around equipment that people.
Have.
So he takes a kind of professional mental attitude towards it in that, he's, doing, AFP, freezing power things. And he's doing like all these calculations, zillions of calculations. He'll buy all the ingredients and all of this, but he's making them typically in, ice cream machines that home people could have and then, eating them out of home refrigerators and making like, smaller quantities. So it's kind of an interesting.
Doing the Lord's work.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so, whatever. He's not here to talk about it, but that's there. So, what about you, John? You didn't say anything about the week in review.
I have just been dealing with staffing issues. So it's been, consuming on that front. So not a whole lot on the pleasure house of eating and dining and all that stuff.
Yeah. All right. Well, let me rip through some questions and Josh, chime in here. Ready? If you have any, thing to say, but we have not answered anyone's questions.
Let's do it.
And is this the last show of the year? Or do we have another show next week?
It is last show.
All right. So this
I'm
is
the closer.
You're the closer.
Yeah.
Bringing it in strong, I have to
that's
say.
right.
Bringing it in strong. So I don't want to leave any questions on the table. All right? Okay. Justin S. wants to know, is there a way I can figure out the sugar levels in a non-clear liquid, i.e. when a refractometer can't get light through it? Refractometer does not require light to pass through it necessarily. I recommend you get an electronic refractometer, which you can put opaque liquids on because you don't need to read anything through it. A computer is reading it. That's what I would do. That's the easiest way to do it.
Yeah, totally.
And they're pretty cheap now. So buy a deal. You're like, I love it. Cosign. See, like, with these guys, you're just like, man, I'm not even going to say anything. You're like,
Yeah,
right
I'm
on.
gonna get in there.
Yeah, come on. See?
Sounds like you know what you're talking about.
Come on every time.
Yeah.
All right. When Rick Man wants to know my French fry technique, I'm still using the old Pectinex soak from years ago. That's still my only, Rick, that's my only real French fry technique. I went and started doing it again for moisture management, and I have scads of information, but I never recompiled it into a new and different technique. I will say this, there is no perfect French fry technique. We have Quinn. Is that caller Quinn? Or so we have a caller. Caller, you're on the air.
Hey, this is Henry.
Oh, hey. Hey, what's up?
I was just coming across this Impress Labs, these new stovetops with a battery that claim to get, way higher than gas capabilities as far as, I guess, BTUs or equivalent power. And as far as, home use, didn't know if you'd taken a look at them, what your thoughts are.
Well, so they're still not for people like me because so what we're talking about is electric stoves that have a giant battery in them. right? And the theory behind these electric stoves is that you can draw power, you can have less input power into it if you store in a battery for a long period of time. Then you can draw it when you need spikes out of the battery, kind of like a turbo, kind of like a hybrid car. So, and so that's what because they know for a fact that the average person isn't cranking on their stove 24/7. And so they can store up for a long time and then pow it out. But I could never get one because I only have single phase 120 because I live in a New York City apartment and I can't control the electric power that comes out. I have 60 amps total of 120 into my place. So I think it's an interesting concept. I think it's, the idea, I think in the future, in the year 2000, as Andy Richter on Conan O'Brien used to say, we're going to have machines that talk to each other enough that you will not need as much total power into where you live in order to accomplish what you need, because there's very few times that everything needs power at the same time. And even when that's the case, if they can talk to each other, they can share loads so that you're never spiking above. So I think it's a good idea. I just, wait to see. People are going to be freaked out, I think, about having that big of a battery in their kitchen, but we'll see what happens. Yeah. It's a big old battery.
I mean, if I didn't need to replace the whole, I've got, oven stove combo. So, these are only in the cooktop version. So I'd still have to figure out where in the wall I'm going to put an oven and so on if I replace that now. But, it sounded like a good, home battery option for the future. Should we be able to get, other appliances and other built-ins versus, $6,000 for somebody to come out and just put a battery in your house?
Yeah, I mean, because they were theoretically saying, I guess, that you could also push from that battery back into some of your other appliances. I forget. There was a whole. It's been a while since I've looked at their stuff, but it seemed. I think Josh, you said this earlier. Nascent. It's nascent.
I'm proud of that word too.
Yeah. It's coming. It's a good idea, and I believe that we're all going to be storing power and then dripping it out at the right minute, because I think in the next 15, 20 years, as we electrify, regardless of what any current politician or person says, we're going to electrify, and one of the main issues is there's just not enough copper running power to people right now. And so anything you can do to kind of ameliorate the problem that there's just not a big enough electric pipe going to, power going to places, I think is a, smart, at least gap filling thing. Does that make sense?
I was curious if you've gotten hands-on with any of those. They just came up the other day. A new Bloomberg Odd Lots podcast had the founder, I believe it was. They interviewed him for a while, went into a lot of detail on it, and way above my expertise level. Yeah, but it intrigued me.
I mean, I'd use it if someone I'd go to someone's house and use it, but obviously, I could never use one. But I would definitely go to someone's house and use it.
Thanks.
Yep, cool. All right, let me know if you hear anything. All right, back to French fry technique real quick. There is no perfect anything on Earth. When you go to Belgium, you see that they can make fantastic French fries because they are willing to do what it takes to make fantastic French fries using only oil and doing it without even a water blanch, right? It's just a question of what's the easiest way to do a perfect fry in an American kitchen with American restaurant technique versus doing it in somebody's house, because that might be a different thing. The perfect French fry technique for your house might be different from in an American restaurant, the way an American restaurant works, which is different from the way that you would do it in Belgium, where they're well, the fry is the most important thing. Nothing else matters. Why? What are you talking about that you have other things you have to make? What are you talking about? You know what I mean? Anyway, Eddie says, can I make a diagram for how my foot pedal sink works? I know there are a lot of vendors that make them, but I seem to recall that the ones that I do can run from either a hand faucet or a foot pedal, and I haven't found that. Eddie, I'll try to put that on Patreon. It's really complicated, whereas it shouldn't be. It would take much longer than I have to actually explain how to do it. There is a way to do it with off-the-shelf parts, and if Quinn makes a note, I'll try to put something on the Patreon.
There's already theme music on this.
I know. It's Joe's trying to keep it snappy, keep me going. Yeah. Okay, see if you have something on this, Josh. Benjamin says, "Hey, Cooking Issues team, we have a special needs dog who eats powder vitamins and nutrients mixed with low to no protein baby food, mostly fruits, to supplement his normal homemade diet. I remember Dave mentioning that a Spinzall can be used to make baby food. Well, Nastasia said that because she wants people to buy it for baby food. I don't really. We're curious about how that process works, other than just tossing everything in a Vitamix and spinning it out. Or if you have any tips, we'd love to make batches of our own blends of fruits and veggies without having to use generic." Well, okay, so this is not for you. It's more a centrifuge question. What the centrifuge does is allow you to remove liquid. So if what you want to do is feed your dog very high solids, then the Spinzall can separate the solids. But I don't know that your dog needs more solids.
No.
I don't know. I mean, it makes very,
Just
very
needs
smooth
unconditional love.
and apparently special food.
And special food.
Yeah. Agos writes in, do anti-caking agents that are included in table salt have any effect in baked goods, like making your cake worse? Can they be tasted? I don't think so. I've heard people say that they can leave scums in things, but I don't happen to use it. I only use like Diamond kosher salt, even though they raised the price by like a factor of 3.
Yep.
What the hell is that?
Yep.
What the hell is that? What the hell is that? All right. I was like, Radar wants to know if I found any baking pans for pies that nest together to form the right gap for the upside down blind baking technique mentioned in Monroe Boston Strauss's book. No, I have not. They don't. No, yeah. But I'm still looking.
No.
Rock Baker, has Dave ever explored the Ramos Gin Fizz and a practical way to create it with more than a 20 bartender shaking brigade? No, I don't really like them. So no. What about you?
I only drink Manhattans.
Why are onion rings priced higher than French fries at most casual restaurants? Because if they're making the onion rings, that's work. Whereas even at most fast casual restaurants that are decent, they're buying Simplot frozen French fries.
You can't buy pre-frozen onion rings?
You could, but I think people are more apt. If you're going to make one, you're going to make the onion rings, and then you're going to charge more for them.
Good point.
All right. So that was it for the year.
Oh, my God. Great year. 2024.
Woo!
Couldn't have been better.
All right, Josh, thanks. Come on anytime. Cooking Issues.